Yo, 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 welcome to another edition of the Geeky Bros Podcast. And I'm just Darcy. You know what kind of week it is when you forget your name on the way in.
That's fair. Then this is Big Geek Umar. Well, now I know how you doing today, bro. Yeah. So it's been a week in many different ways. The San Diego Comic-Con is happening right now, so we have bits and pieces of new information, which some things are going to be brought up today, but predominantly next week is going to be when we talk about that. Before we go into our big announcement, I just wanted to let you all know, for those of you who are new to the channel, if you're not watching us live, go click the descriptions. We have timestamps set up for all of our topics. So if there's any one particular topic you want to go to, check it out, click it, you're right there. And for our big announcement, we are going to be, unfortunately, ending the Geeky Bros podcast after next week. Our 180th show will be our last. Tactix hopefully will be there for that one. But let's just say that after 4 years of doing this, we all are starting to find it a little tough because we don't have a pandemic keeping us all able to keep being on our computers all day. But we had a really great run. We're very happy to have been doing this. Our bros got definitely closer, and that's not going to change just because we're not doing a podcast every day. But thank you. We'll have a much bigger send off at the day, but nonetheless, just giving you all letting you know. Please check out our last episode next week. We really appreciate your support. Please like, favor, and subscribe. And Darcy, anything else you want to say?
Why you gotta be such a downer at the beginning of the podcast?
I just feel it's nostalgic.
I'm just playing. No, I'm with you. I mean, I was surprised when you said it was 4 years. Not that long ago. I didn't really keep track, but I was like, man, 180 episodes. That's a big run. It's longer than most relationships I've ever had in my life. Sarcasm.
Likewise.
I didn't mean though in specifically romantic. I've had much longer there, but just in general, No, but I've enjoyed myself, and we'll kick it into the next one, and the next one's gonna come after we all. The rest of us, you already have, but all of us have seen Deadpool. So that's going to be a big final send off right there.
Yes, that's a perfect send off, I think, because it's going to be we're going to release an out of the theater reaction, which will be spoiler free, but we're also going to be giving a full review as our goodbye episode.
Yeah, absolutely. Looking forward to it. I mean the reviewing part, not necessarily the ending part.
Fair, absolutely fair.
Yeah.
So let's jump into our first topic of our penultimate episode, and hopefully I can have better pronunciation next week. 4 years later, and it still hasn't got better. Anyway, so our first topic of the night is going to be a trailer reaction to the most recently released this past week trailer for Superman and Lois season 4. Now, for those of you who have been watching us since this show has been released and since we've been out, we have been following this show. We were frustrated after the first season. No, sorry.
Mm-hmm.
We were fine after the first season. Hello, Nagar, Namra, and CJ. You guys missed our big announcement, but you can catch that later. But so for Superman and Lois, we started off the series liking it, but having some problems with it. Watched season 2, and I think most of us fell off halfway through the season because it just wasn't for us.
Mm-hmm.
And then I apparently restarted the fire for this series when I sent a clip of a season 3 episode, and then it kind of led to us all coming back to review season 3 and finding out that there are some legs left in this show. And it ended off on a big battle with Doomsday and Superman that there's a cliffhanger for. And as a result, season 4 is going to start off right where that left off. And let me just stop it right there. So Dars, what were your thoughts on the trailer given everything that came up?
Yeah, I mean, it's looking really good while I'm watching it at this exact moment because I'm
Okay,
not gonna.
so I
That's my trend this entire time. No, I'm like 90% the way through. I'm almost there right now. I will say that the thing that first off, um, why is that the Doomsday for television looks better than Zack Snyder's?
don't. We brought this up last time, man. Don't even bring that up. It just hurts.
I mean, I'm gonna give the compliment. It looks better of going into the season because obviously, like they were trying to get that out at the very end of last season, so it looks like they've had some time to flush out the animation on this Doomsday. And knowing that it's their final season, they look like they're really gonna go out with a bang on like going all out. I think I'm also excited about. I like this version of Lex Luthor. Yes, it's not an
Yes.
exact like normal version, but it works because like let's say this show pulled the OG, the true live action Lex Luthor we all love from Smallville, right?
Yeah.
Like he and the animated one from Ultimate Unlimited, sorry, are the two like pinnacle Lex Luthors, right? Let's
Yeah.
just say we actually pulled him and he decided to come into this show. Like let's just say that was hypothetical. I
Okay.
actually don't know that I don't feel like he would fit as well because with all of the um silliness sometimes that we get, especially with the Suns, having somebody who just feels this rough, who feels this like I'm scared of him. Whereas the other one is like, yeah, we're scared of the other Lex Luthor, but in a like intelligent, we don't quite know what he's gonna do in a more typical way. But this one just feels way surlier and it adds a layer that you're like, yeah, this feels like Superman's never really dealt with this kind of guy, and we don't know what he was like before. But like,
Yeah.
so it just adds gravitas. Like I'm watching that clip with the is it not Jonathan Kent,
Jordan.
Jordan, and he's like facing off, and he's just walking towards him, and he's flying backwards on intimidation. I'm like, yeah, I feel. I'm looking at this like, is it wrong that I'm kind of like, yo, teach this boy how to be a man?
Nah, I am like honestly, that's the one thing of the series that I like. I like the fact that they talked about a Superman who is like having to learn how to be a good person as opposed to like just being naturally. But at the same time, the I will say that clip gave me something I had never really thought that I knew I wanted because the idea that like a super boy will go up to Lex Luthor and think because he's like physically stronger, he can take him and like he can intimidate him. And Lex Luthor literally just walks up to a child and a child backs off even though he's floating off the ground.
Yeah, because this is gonna be totally random, but like
Re-
intimidation and presence is a lot. So get this, okay? I'm gonna make a funny reference. I'm gonna get a visual, okay? So my nieces and nephews stay with us. They have like all these Nerf guns, and so I took my favorite Nerf gun, which is this little one. I call it
I love that one too. That's
I
my
call
favorite
it
one.
the Pee Wee 9000 is what I call it, right? A play from like I feel like it's like from Men in
Men in
Black, right?
Black.
But I say 9000 because of like Dragon Ball, so like over 9000 because it's one of the most powerful actual guns. It shoots like the fastest. And
Yeah.
so for anyone who needs to see what I'm talking about, watch on the visual on the podcast. So yesterday I'm like working, and then my partner comes home, and the niece and nephew are there, and they have like, I mean, like all the guns, right? Like the automatic, the sniper rifles, the whole gamut. And they decide they're gonna like start shooting at me. I get my PV 9000 with 3 bullets, and I just stand up and start walking, and I know how to like have a presence that's like intimidating, and they all start sprinting. They have automatic weapons with bigger bullets than me, and I'm walking with 3 bullets. And I had all 3 of them scared, like locking the door and everything. And it's like, yeah, because it doesn't matter how big the weapon is. The person holding the weapon still feels like the person.
Yeah.
So he's still a kid. Just
Yeah.
because he's got a big weapon doesn't mean he's not scared of
Exactly.
strong men. And it's like, yeah, that's a really good depiction. That is very valuable, and I believe that with him. I would still believe it with
Yes.
like say the other Lex Luthor, but this one This one, I believe it way more because the other Lex Luthor feels like he would say something and have a card up his sleeve. This Lex Luthor looks like he's gonna punch him. Not that that's very effective, but he looks like he would do it.
Okay, I will counter that by saying he doesn't look like he's going to punch him. He looks like he is going to be a father that yells and scares the child by yelling. Like, if he was your dad and he walked up to you, he's like, "What did you do?" And then he's like, "I told you not to do that again." Like, even a Superboy would be like, so
Yeah.
like, I see that more than anything else. I will say that the other part of the trailer that I found to be really interesting, and I'm kind of hoping because like when we watched the first season, Tactix and I talked about this a little bit back and forth. I feel Jordan is going to die because he goes too far, and that Jonathan is the one who has to stop him and has to like work with Lex Luthor. I don't know if that's going to really help work in this situation because Superboy doesn't die during the death of Superman after the Doomsday thing in the comics. There's like Steel, who's already there. There's a cyborg Superman, which I feel could happen given Lex Luthor's background. We already have our Superboy, which is Jordan, and there was someone else I'm forgetting right now. But like, let's just say that we have elements in place to kind of like fulfill that storyline. But Jonathan having a like freaking out at his brother and saying that he's actually not a hero was something interesting that I have been waiting for like a culmination for.
Yeah. I mean, I watched it on mute because I was like talking here, but so I didn't hear all those words yet. No, it's not, don't worry. You're spoiling a trailer. It's like whatever.
Yeah.
But I'm glad to hear that. I feel like the one thing though with this is like if they're gonna do a death of Superboy, I don't feel like it could be. It would have to be like something they fix midway through the season, because you can't do this big event unless it's to somehow do something for Superman and Lois themselves emotionally with their character. But I'm like, you really want to finish off the show with them like mourning their son? What's the payoff in the lesson? What's the conclusion? Because it feels like now you're setting up another season that they have to resolve the problem, like they have to
Right.
resolve the grief, but you won't get, and then Superman, what he becomes from that, you won't get that. You'll just kind of end it. So you I feel like the conclusion obviously it has to lead to Superman coming back, right?
Yes.
And being whatever he is and whatever he changes from that, and what the family and what the people have to endure without him, and the value and everything that gets created from that. So it's like, yeah, the conclusion, I feel like um I feel like what they'll likely do is they'll have Jordan learn what it takes to actually be a hero, not necessarily fully become one, but to understand the real weight and gravity, because his father's not there. It's like that lesson you learn when you become like a man, when the parents stop teaching, or sorry, stop being able
Yeah.
to protect you from everything. No
Yeah.
one can protect them anymore, and no
Yeah.
one can show him what to do, and he's fighting against everybody, thinking he's still that petulant child who thinks I know well. And now when everything's taken away and you're playing a game with men, you're going to find out you didn't know anything, and that's what everyone's been telling you.
Yeah.
And so I think there's going to be a real lesson there. I could see there being like him getting massively injured or like close to death or something to that effect as part of a lesson. I just
Right.
don't think that they would go all the way to death, because I think I just
Possibly
don't know. I
not.
don't know what you would do with that, unless like the thing is like I feel like the death can't bring Superman back, right? The son's death doesn't bring Superman back itself. He would have to come back to find out his son is dead, and then that doesn't necessarily, like, what do you do with that, and what's the purpose of that story point?
Yeah. Suffice it to say, when I heard that this was going to be the final season, I thought good. When I was hearing that they're going to like adapt the Death of Superman storyline, and then I was like, I don't know how well this will do. Again, like this, look, I enjoyed parts of season 3. but there's still things that bothered me about, and that will continue with this show. But it is interesting that this is going to, like, this show, the series finale is going to be the finale of the CW.
Yeah, I you know, it feels kind of right.
Yeah,
Like in a way, like it feels like the what made this. It didn't Smallville make CW?
yes, it did.
That's so fitting. That's
Agreed.
so fitting, and it feels like they're actually gonna finish on a proper form.
I will say that in terms of show progression, in terms of quality, this and the 100 were probably the only shows that I felt were actually like quality shows from CW. That's not saying a lot.
Yeah, this show's had its moments. The problem for me is that, like, for all 4 seasons, Superman has fought himself. Right? Just Doomsday is the only one that is like the one that I agree with. And because it's in the 4th season, not like the first season, and it's actually the fight, like it's a version of himself that evolves into a being that's something else. He is technically fighting himself, but it's something more, and it's from the comics. Versus, like, first one, he fights his brother he didn't know he had. Second one, he fights a bunch of beings that are exactly like him. Third one, he fights the thing that's basically himself in reverse, and then it becomes something. Right?
I did like the Bizarro stuff, though.
Yeah, the Bizarro stuff was pretty good. The problem is that you did it for 2 more seasons in advance.
Yes, I know. That, like, the repetitivity of the villains not being anything beyond that is frustrating.
Yeah, like I just don't want to see every season of like watch Superman Legacy. It's Superman fighting himself, and then Superman Legacy 2 is fighting himself, and I'm like, okay, you guys missed the plot. Like, what about Toymaster, right? Like you can really
Toymaster.
what? Well, yeah, whatever. you can take a villain that isn't that well known, make them, or like not that as always seen as that what's the word I'm looking for, as capable or
right.
as imposing, and do something amazing with them. And you also have Brainiac, right? You also have Darkseid, but obviously have to build up for bigger things for those. So, like, build up to these big ones and then make the other ones that, like, we don't think are that big of a deal, make them amazing. I want to see James Gunn bring Cameraman into the Batman universe. Just play.
That was a genius creation you made, and I'm all for it.
Yeah, that's a Matt Reeves though, and Matt Reeves, call me.
Oh, that's true. Yeah.
Yeah.
That's true.
Yeah, I feel like that would be a little tougher in what looks to be a much lighter universe, in more comic book accurate version that James Gunn's going for. But in Matt Reeves' universe, I absolutely would love, like, Cameraman. I think that would be a fantastic, like, side distraction villain in the third movie. I think
100%.
Because it plays so well off the first one. Anyways, if you guys haven't seen it, I don't remember the episode, but maybe we can link it up in the show notes as to the episode where we had. I
will go and check that out. I'll put that in the comment section.
Yeah, absolutely.
All right, moving on to our next topic. Now, we thought, as you all who have been watching us for a while, we were following the SAG-AFTRA strike. Well, we won't be doing it this time because we don't have that episode, but, like, at least we want to let you know that it's happening.
Hey, we the strike affects us. Apparently we're a video game. We out.
It's like, yeah. What did your niece say? Oh, we ain't gonna talk about that.
We ain't gonna talk about that.
We ain't gonna talk about that. So, for those of you who don't know, SAG-AFTRA went on strike, and it had to do with writers, and also have a big part had to do about AI for actors and writers and all that sort of stuff. So I thought that had taken care of everything. Apparently, video games are a big thing. Now, I will preface all of this by saying I am not a gamer. So therefore, when it comes to video games, I will definitely be deferring to our bro Darcy, because he is not only played more, but also knows a lot more.
Mm-hmm.
But from what I've understood, the strike that's about to start is due to the fact that despite all the agreements that took place beforehand, there has not been clear language regarding basically like there needs to be agreements between the studios and like the actors who are going to be coming from SAG to be part of voicing all the video game characters. And there's no protection for those performers for their voices being taken by AI. So actually, let me just say it. So although agreements have been reached on many issues important to SAG-AFTRA members, the employers refuse to plainly affirm in clear and enforceable language that they will protect all performers covered by this contract in their AI language, SAG said. The main sticking point of this issue is being the protection against the use of artificial intelligence, namely in voices. And the companies involved who are not allowing for that like level of protection for the members are Activision Productions, Blind Light, Disney Character Voices, Electronics Production, Formosa Interactive, Insomniac Games, Llama Productions, Take-Two Productions, VoiceWorks Productions, and WB Games.
Interesting. Yeah, there's a lot of those also are crossing over with movies and and I'm also hearing some of those names. It's interesting because some of those are like a studio within inside of a game studio. But yeah. Anyways, continue on what you're saying.
So my thing was like, I feel this is like, okay, I have never served on any like production companies or anything like that, but I feel this is like kind of belaboring the point in the sense from on the company side. I'm like, you know that they will go on strike for this. You know they were relatively successful in going on strike for this, and like the fact that 90% of the union is like backing this after having been on strike already. I feel like, what did you think was going to happen?
This is a bit more nuanced of a problem in the video game industry. Now, I'm not an expert in the video game industry, but I'm just going to make an external analysis from like a developer's perspective, because what I am is like a web developer. So there's a couple of problems. So one, I think that the core thing that the actors are probably mostly focused on is the Scarlett Johansson effect that's already happened, right? Which is mimicking Scarlett Johansson's voice or a very likewise voice, right? And using it in ways that you're not being compensated for, but like, you know, things that you wouldn't agree with, right? But mostly like not being compensated for, because like, but you could imagine someone makes a movie, a game that's about, I don't know, some Hitler-like type character, and they use your voice because they think your voice is very applicable, like your tone, and you're like, I didn't agree, and I don't want to be acting that role, right? And people think it's you, and it's not you, and so like I'm just using it as an extreme example, but you could totally see how someone's like, we're gonna do this thing, and they make like a fun video game, and then you're like, yeah, I didn't get compensated, and I also culturally and religiously believe that like that's against my rights, that you that you use my voice in that way. It offends me, right? So I could see that being like the main thing, and that nuance of language. I can agree with that, because I'm not going to argue that we should have AI voices that mimic people, and like nearly to or exactly a person, and then not know, because we have the problem of that in like social media with fake content coming out from actors that aren't really actually saying things, or like the 800 Elon Musk videos with him like announcing, or Mr. Beast announcing a giveaway that they're not actually announcing. So I agree with that. Where it gets really nuanced, so in like a movie, generally it's like, okay, I didn't agree and get compensated, or the person's passed away and it's a specific role, right? I don't think there's a lot of movies that are thinking in the voice specific area, being like, hey, we're not gonna cast Scarlett Johansson, but we're gonna get Scarlett Johansson's voice and then not use her. I don't think there's a lot of movies that are thinking that,
right?
Because I think there's like the bankability of the actor, right, to sell your product. With 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 video games, you have a couple of problems. There is the idea that a bunch of voices have been sampled in the world to generate completely brand new voices that you want to, let's say you're a smaller video game creator, or you're a bigger studio but you have smaller games and you want to just use AI voices for unimportant characters. What was currently commonly referred to in video games as NPCs, non-playable characters. You may remember that from the Ryan Reynolds movie, where like there was like all
Free
the
Guy.
characters. Yeah, Free Guy. He was like an NPC and like a non-playable character, and he was like a background person. And so I could see a lot of video games wanting to generate in the script, but similarly toned in style, but not saying, oh, it sounds like Scarlett Johansson or it sounds like this. It's just a woman of a kind of thing. And, you know, it sounds like a Valley girl, but we don't want to like not have the ability to generate a random voice for a person that doesn't sound like, we're not purposely sounding like anybody, but you're just going to say, oh, that sounds enough like me, but it really wasn't, or really
Yeah.
wasn't trying to. Maybe a phrase or something kind of sounds like Scarlett Johansson when she says this, but it's not really. And so I could see them having a lot of problem coming to the table on that, because it limits certain things. And obviously they're saying, well, that removes certain amounts of roles, but some of these like small roles aren't really going to be roles. They're going to be like, I'm going to pay you like $300 to show up a day. I don't know what the rates are, but like I'm going to pay you
I
like
hear what you're saying.
$500 to like randomly shout in the thing for like 20 minutes and leave, right? It's not really a role, you know, and no one knows who you are and no one's ever going to know who you are, kind of a thing.
Right.
So I could see that being one layer of nuance that's happening here that doesn't happen in the movie world. So yeah, and because like there's going to be a lot of stuff that's already sampled and they don't even know what's in the sampling that made that stuff. And so I could see that's where there's going to be a lot of like problem in this world.
Yeah, this again, I don't know well enough about this area, but I do find it interesting that like, because I know a lot of actors do video game roles,
Yeah.
and also like big tier ones too. Like obviously TV favorites who get to like reprise the characters in video game formats, but like big name actors also get involved too. I feel this is a lot easier for actors to choose not to get involved, and so therefore it can be more problematic for the video game industry versus in the movie industry. Like because like it's like, oh well, if you're not going to act, then you're not going to be acting in like anything, and that's like the fear here. It's like I don't see a lot of actors having a lot of issues saying no to not coming back to video games.
I mean, think of it like voice acting in general. Like there's a lot of it's the nuance. It's literally the same craft as doing that. However, there's also a lot of video game acting that's actually mocap, so physical acting, but you were replaced with a three-dimensional character, like the God of War video games, and the main guy and the boy, they're actually physically acted. All of the cinematic scenes are physically acted by the actors in mocap, and then they record the voice like live on set, and so all of the cinematics are 100% an acting role, but it's a voice and physical acting. Then there's plenty of roles that are going to be like purely like voice, just kind of depends on the production level.
Right.
There's also a nuance with video games that happens that doesn't happen with like, that's even harder than that of like say acting on a video game, or not like a 3D movie or like an anime. It's much harder because in a lot of video games you have to record thousands of extra interactions. So, for instance, let's say you take Keanu Reeves, who was in a video game not too long ago, and then Idris Elba came in to like play another role similar. They were both in the video game. I can't remember the name right now. Someone in the comments, please help me out. It's a really, really big game.
Does he have a beard?
Yeah, I think he did. It was a really big game. It was
Cyberpunk?
Cyberpunk, thank you. 2077.
20, yeah.
So, in that game, you're going to have cinematic moments, right? Which are pre-scripted interactions that are main story
Right.
points. But in between that, let's say you have that character, you can interact with him outside of that. There are millions of moments where you could just interact sometimes with a character, and you have to record all these different voice lines, like reactions and little statements, or like, let's say the character has to do a phone call into you, like kind of a cell phone thing. You might have like 100 versions of that phone call, right? So that way you can get this nuancy experience that feels very real and not as scripted, because some games
Right.
are meant to feel like real world and they're called open world. So like you can kind of do whatever you want, explore however you want,
Okay.
and the interactions are supposed to change enough it doesn't feel scripted. So I could also see there that bigger studios, who are especially the greedy ones like Activision, are going to want to use AI to make in the difference. And I don't agree with that, but I could
Right.
see why some of them are going to be like fighting against this, because they'd be like, hey, we could record enough, get his voice, and then all these ones that are like non-emotive and non-story beat ones, we can simulate. Like, let's say we have him saying, oh hell no, but then this other scene we need him to say like a little bit of a nuance, and he didn't record this word, and we can't edit the two things together because we don't have that word. So what if we write it and we just have the AI fill out the rest of the last few words? We still paid him, but like there's all that nuance of like, well, did they pay me for that one thing? Did they pay me enough hours? Blah
Mm,
blah blah blah. I could see that becoming a part of the conversation, and from a development perspective, it makes a lot of sense. But I also see the other side of it, where they're like, how far can you easily abuse that? Right now, if you recorded like a bunch of different phrases, and I didn't have a specific sentence, but I had you having two recordings or three or four recordings where I could splice up the words, like cut them apart, put it back together, and make it sound like a continuous thing, you would do that. And that would be already within your existing contract. The difference is like, would you have AI do the same thing?
right.
So that's what I mean. It's very nuanced because the medium is very different, because the medium can have like a bunch of programmatic or undetermined experiences that are not like a movie, where it's like you don't watch the movie back and like, choose your own experience, and you get a completely different experience than anybody else has ever experienced. There's usually only so many. It's usually one movie only, right? That you're actually
Yeah.
watching. So
Interesting.
yeah, it's complicated, and I can see where there's going to be
Because
some nuance here.
this has been like a year and a half worth of negotiations that have like led to this strike. So it's not like they just like automatically were like, we're going to drop the ball. So now that you explained that, I can see why there's the nuances actually kept this going for so long, and why the strike is kind of like the next choice.
Yeah, because I don't know where the language is. I do know certain studios, Activision, as was mentioned, and a couple others that are not known. They already have like a lot of bad problems. I'm pretty sure
Mm.
Activision, there was like Blizzard. Yeah, like, yeah. There's a bunch of studios that like, they also have like massive lawsuits for like sexual assault issues with inside of the companies, and
Jesus.
all. Oh yeah, it's bad. There's some of these studios are like just run by evil people. Like, just it's just Hollywood in a different form. But but it's
I guess that makes sense.
yeah, it's the like, you just look up the lawsuits and you'd be like, holy crap, how are they still in the business? And you're like, yeah, it's bad. But so those ones are definitely going to be a lot longer to figure anything out with, because they
I
already have
can
questionable
definitely
practices.
agree. Yeah.
Yeah. But
Okay.
there's also a lot on the indie side, like small people making stuff where they would want to use AI. The same way like a small filmmaker, some kid, wants to use AI to like fill in a bunch of things to try to like make his vision come to life. And there's going to be like limits of what he can and cannot do. And but it's always different when it's like, somebody with like $10,000 to do something by themselves, and a big studio that puts like 200 million into something, right? Like, it's
Hmm.
just there is a difference there of the intention. So
Okay. Well, I guess we'll all see how this either resolves or continues.
yeah, the question I have is it going to stop video games from being made? And if it is, yeah, I don't know. Will it move faster because there's a lot of money in video games?
Yeah, and also those halts can cause a lot of this would be devastating for this industry.
Yeah, I have a feeling it won't. It definitely won't stop any indie developers because I think there's less union. I think that it won't stop development outside of certain like levels of games.
Right.
Like the ones that are like big story based with actors, those ones are obviously gonna get affected. But I think there's plenty of video games that will just continue to come out, and I don't even just mean the indie ones. I just mean like there's be plenty that are gonna come out probably.
Okay. Well, we shall see. All right, moving on to our next topic. So, our first piece of San Diego Comic-Con 2024 revelations. I mean, like currently, like as we're recording this, I'm getting pop-ups of like what has been announced. Like apparently, also a new trailer for the DCU animated show from James Gunn has been released, but like it's literally happening as we're talking, so we don't have that information quite yet.
Someone let us know if it's good.
Yeah, exactly. But one piece of news comes in this form of our beloved The Boys TV series. The Boys is getting a spin-off series. Now, for those of you who thought that it would be at the same timeline as I thought, think again. This is actually going to be a prequel series. The show is going to be called Vought Rising, and it's going to focus on Soldier Boy and Stormfront. So these two, for those of you who don't know, it's Aya Cash who played Stormfront in season 2, and Soldier Boy who was played by Jensen Ackles in season 3. They are coming back to reprise their roles as Soldier Boy and Stormfront, and they are going to be. It's very much going to be. And let me just see what they're talking about. It's everything from Judy Garland to Joe McCarthy. Oh wow, that's quite a large area to go. Vought Rising is described as a lurid prequel set in the 1950s about the humble beginnings of the monstrous corporation Vought. Aya Cash then appeared via a recorded video to announce her involvement and to say she's read the scripts. We've got everything from Judy Garland to Paul McCarthy, and said release date wasn't mentioned yet. So this is all the information we have as of right now. Before I toss it over to Darcy, I'm just going to quickly say, yo, this is dope.
Yeah.
Like, I remember we had talked in a previous podcast episode about how we were worried about where these spinoffs would go, and also like that they would kind of go in the direction we wouldn't want them to. And the way we wanted it to was to like focus on other countries. I thought they were going to do a Mexican boys, like a Vought, the Mexican the Mexican oh god, what's it called? Basically the Mexican location for Vought. But this sounds it's like the humble beginnings and how it like grew to become so intense, which means I'm so afraid of the level of like sexism and like racial persecution that's going to be in those early episodes, because they don't hide it in the modern day. So like when those like we have microaggressions and like systemic racism that's like more like undertones in the modern day. It was outright back in the 50s. So like
macroaggressions.
Yeah.
That should be like the tagline for the show.
Oh man, I'm so scared.
The tagline is just macroaggressions. They'd be such a good title because it's like it's not really a phrase that's used. You'll get it, but it also sounds like a silly name for an 80s like action film. Like from that,
yeah,
like macroaggressions. It's just
man.
Pay me a check.
Can you imagine if you made that a drinking game per episode?
Oh my goodness. Oh, you have to be very so unlike like How I Met Your Mother when they had the drinking game, you have to be like even more nuanced. Like it's like a phrase. It's like all right, how many times do they use ER at the end of the N word? like will they even use it?
Yeah.
They'll probably not because that's probably censored. But yeah, like the
Well, I'm sorry. The boys will get censored.
yeah, but I feel like I'm not sure if I've seen it in movies. I just don't know if I've seen it in a TV show before. Like I just don't know if it's under a regulation where like there's certain things you just can't
Maybe.
do,
Maybe. Okay.
but maybe you can. I don't know. You don't see it very often, so it's like it could just be like it's totally allowed. Just nobody wants to go there,
Yeah.
right? And this show will be like, let's do it. Oh man, when this show comes out, I'm just gonna hashtag macroaggressions.
I'll join you, man. So what are your thoughts on this news, Stars?
Didn't ask for it, love it, I'm game. Because like so my idea of like going to other countries makes a lot of sense in the perspective of like what is the fallout from what we're about to get. But the I'm almost starting to get the feeling that like the end of the boys is going to either be the end of Soups or it's going to be like the end of the world. Like it's gonna be somewhere in between there. Like I don't think it's gonna be like, and they saved the day. Like it's gonna be like, the world's done, right? Like it's gonna be so bad, and I almost kind of feel like we're not gonna have like a story to spin off of from the way it ends. So, but if they're planning to do multiple spin-offs, then maybe there's still room for that, right?
Yeah.
Like they're like a resurgence of VE, like Compound V. But for this, I like this because there's no release date.
Not yet. And also, we know that the next season, like season 5 of The Boys, is going to be. I think they said like 2 years away.
See, I really see. Thing is, they've been really smart, right? So we have the second season
Of
of
Gen V.
Gen V coming out, which is obviously going to be a lead into the final season.
Yeah.
And you said, sorry, 2 years away, like 2027?
Yeah.
Okay.
This could come like
Like
if they play this.
2026 or 2027? Because we're halfway through 2024, and 2 years you could kind of fall in either way.
Yeah, I'm gonna say 2027.
Because if it's 2027, there's a good chance this is coming out 2026,
Yeah.
because so one thing that people want is that I don't know the other guy's name. I just don't know. But Jensen Ankles, Ankles. I don't know how to say his last name. His co-partner in Supernatural.
Jared Padalecki.
Thank you. I didn't even know. It's not even a pronunciation. I just didn't even know. People were like, we got to bring him into the boys. We have Jensen. We need him. We just need
He
to,
said
like,
he's going to.
yeah, and then they've been trying to find the role, and so Eric Kripke recently said he found the role for him in like the final season, and obviously now I can tell us what it is.
All right.
And I have a feeling it's like, is it going to have to be related to this spinoff? Like, as in they set up the character. Like, what if they bring him in for like a good portion of this season, and he's a character from a long time ago, or
Right.
something related, and it plays through. Like, you know, like what if there's some kind of connection and we get like a good amount of him just for the sake of the crowd pleasing of
Yeah.
this of having him on screen. So I think that's going to be like an interesting kind of play, but this definitely feels like we're going to have Gen V, then we're going to have something that sets up something that we yet know about that's going to affect the last season, a new element, a new thing, and then we're going to get that final season, and it's going to be like so big. It's going to be so much bigger than if we just went off season 4 to season 5, because we needed like 2 other shows to explain everything that's about to happen.
What about if when they actually release this after the boys finale?
What if it leaves after the boys finale? Then the boys better come in 2026.
Yeah. Well, yeah, exactly.
First off, let me get that out of the way. They released this after the finale. That could be interesting. If that would mean that we're setting up for an expansion of the universe through this story about shedding, instead of like linear storytelling, it's setting up the width so that we can do what the other things like this, like Soldier Boy went out and fostered 45 kids around the world, and and we're gonna find out about them, right?
Oh,
Especially if we go into like the 50s, like we're definitely gonna start talking about our soups out of Asia. Like, because you know all those racist guys were having kids over there. like and we just know it. So
yeah. That's the worst part.
we're definitely gonna go there. So it'll be interesting if that would be the case. It would definitely be another way of expanding it. I just want to see like just some view of superhero like in this world from a different angle, right? From a country
Me
that
too.
isn't
America.
financially prosperous, right? Yeah, isn't America, but like one that's not financially prosperous, or
The global south, just in general, the global south.
yeah, or one that is like somewhere in Europe that is prosperous, but it's like it's just different. In what
Yeah.
way is it different,
Yeah.
right? Because you know it could be really interesting is like the dry wit humor of the British with all of this with Gen like the the compound V in their world, like it could be really funny. You know what I mean? Right? And there's a lot of characters like I could totally see that because of what's our main dude?
Homelander?
No, the
Butcher?
boys. Butcher. Because he's
That's
clear
true.
like that could just be a tie off, like, you know, obviously he's from there. He didn't like grow up in America because his accent's thick. So what about his backstory? And I'm not saying we have to see his backstory, but we could see things that are connected to him, and then get a couple of scenes where like we see characters in that area, and then they interact with him in a season, and it's just like a nice, oh
Hold on.
yeah, like it's nice to throw him
Are
in
you
there.
referring to this like in terms of like the prequel or in terms of like any other spin-off?
Oh, I just meant any other spinoff.
Gotcha. Okay, because I was like, if we're gonna do that with the prequel, then it's gonna be his father, because we know his father sucked, but we didn't know what his father did.
Oh, that could be interesting too. I wasn't thinking about that.
Hmm.
That could really, yeah, you could set that up by having his father come in, and then later on we get like some interaction to see you know, what Butcher is like
Yeah.
at a young age, and then later on when you have some random spin-off show all on the other side of the pond, then you can also bring modern day Butcher before like the final season,
Yeah.
and have like an episode where he shows up and then can kind of continue on from there. Yeah, this there's a lot you can do. Obviously we don't want to overdo it,
Yes.
um but yeah, there's a lot that can happen.
Also, it hasn't, like, I haven't seen it online yet, but there was actually at San Diego Comic Con there was a release for a teaser trailer for season 2 of Gen V. So, but like I don't know what happened. All that I know is that the Deep is going to be will be in the spinoff as a guest star, playing him, the exact person that he is, and that Jensen Ackles, while going to be prominent in the prequel episode, is also going to be a series regular in season 4 of The Boys. So he's like really starting to like come in and like not take over, but he's going to be like clearly the next Homelander, and they're going to show him as the real Homelander.
Nice.
Yeah, yeah. I think he's because like he was very prominent in season 3.
Yeah. Yeah, he was a big character.
Yeah,
People loved him in this, and yeah, I mean I loved him.
he has a huge like following because of Supernatural, so it makes sense that they're going to bank on it. Like I love Anthony Starr, but I like, and even though I had watched him in a series before, I did not know it was the same person. So like he's definitely redefined himself in this role and now has developed a following. But Jensen Ackles is bringing people who love him to this series.
Yeah. And it's appropriate because it's not like we went from Harry Potter to Lord of the Rings, like, you know, like
No.
the content is almost 1-to-1. So
And despite the fact that this past season of The Boys was heavily criticized, sorry, the next season of the boys is not season 4, it's season 5. We just finished season 4. My apologies. But the I forgot what the point that I was about to make. Oh yeah, so this latest season of the boys, season 4, was heavily criticized in the critics. Like it was a significant drop, mostly because people realized that they were being made fun of because they're the alt-right and they got angry. However, this past season of The Boys is the highest that they have received in terms of views.
Yeah. One thing that I'm thinking about when it comes to Soldier Boy, which is going to be very interesting when we go into the spinoff, is he's a character you're not supposed to like, but he's so charismatic at it that you end up loving him for being a horrible person. And I'm curious to see how that plays out, because are we
Soldier
going to
Boy?
Soldier Boy? Because a lot of people was like, and I agree with this, you're not supposed to like him, but there's something about his swag that makes you go like, I don't know why I like you. Like I shouldn't, but I kind of like you. It's because it's like that. It's that old school unapologetic nature, but at its prime when it was the coolest. And it's like, I don't like you, but I kind of like you. I like your swag. But I'm just curious if when they have the season, are they going to push it to the point where we don't love him, or we love him more when we know we shouldn't? It's the way to describe it. It's like when the teenage girl brings home the boyfriend that we all know she shouldn't be dating for the first time. We all start to feel like, we know you're wrong, but we kind of get it.
Okay, so I will say that I get what you mean. I didn't feel the same way, but I actually get what you mean. For me, the reason I enjoyed Jensen Ackles' portrayal of Soldier Boy was not because of the character himself, but because of how Jensen Ackles played the character. Like
that's what I'm saying.
But the thing was, like, it wasn't a swag. It was the fact that, like, he said the most ridiculous things, but he did it with he was saying it with a straight face. But there's an element of like, yo, I know this is bullshit, but like I'm gonna say it like this, because there was like almost a sarcastic confidence.
Yeah, but it was also unapologetic, and he really stuck to it. Like he really, Jensen he made me believe that he was that guy who was that unapologetic, and we know he's not that guy, and he just did. That's what I'm saying. It's not the character, it's how Jensen played the character with the swag that he brought that made me enjoy more than I should. It's
Do you still have that Nerf gun in your hand?
Yeah, I've been playing with it.
The kids come back.
You never know.
Yeah.
You must be ready.
Yeah, okay. You know what? I will agree with that. Like, Jensen definitely has the charisma. Like, he clearly has led a TV series, not all by himself, but he led a series for like 15 years. He can carry another one, and like especially with the same guy who ran the last one. So like, clearly there's a magic there. But actually, I'm with you on this.
Yeah, it's if it was anybody else who didn't have the charisma, we just all hate the character. He would be like a more despicable Homelander and probably as enjoyable as the Deep. But like he just, and I love the Deep for how pathetic he is.
I can't stand him. I honestly can't stand him.
So the way that I love the Deep is this, okay? You know when you listen to like a Family Guy joke that just keeps going to the point where it becomes annoying and then keeps going to the point where it becomes funny? It's like he's so pathetic that at this point I find him endearing.
I'm not there yet.
He's so pathetic that I'm like, it's okay.
I'm not there yet. I'm not there yet.
Yeah, and it's like I should.
Oh my God, Courtney, you're on episode 2 of season 1 of The Boys?
Yeah, she just started. Oh okay. Yeah. Oh yeah, no, Courtney, you're absolutely justified in hating him, and he's absolutely detestable. But he will go through an arc that's going to make him unbelievably pathetic, and it's you'll enjoy what makes him pathetic. You'll enjoy the
Yes.
misery he
Okay,
goes through.
yeah,
It
that's
is
true.
perfectly geared, Courtney, to make you enjoy his misery. And after he comes out of that misery, you're just going to like look down on him. And it's at that point that I'm like, I just kind of like how pathetic you are.
Okay. So Courtney, just so you know, she said, I hated the thought he was, I hated that I thought he was cute for the first 5 minutes. Um, you're not the only one. I introduced the boys to one of my friends who was a fan of the actor from Gossip Girl. And he was like, and she was just like, oh my God, I love him in Gossip Girl. He's such a sweetheart. And I was like,
Yeah, wait.
and then she saw what happened in the first episode, and she was like, "No, no." I was like, "I'm sorry."
He's neither sweet nor has a heart.
No, so let's put it this way: she did not get to episode 3.
Gossip Girl to the boys. Oh, I mean, I like that. I like that. That both in the name pun and in the content of it. So.
I know, yeah.
Yeah.
Courtney's like category 5 tonal shift.
Oh my goodness. What was like the version of Red Alert in Star Trek?
That is Red Alert. It is
Oh,
Red
okay.
Alert.
Oh yeah, it was Red Alert. Okay, I thought I couldn't remember. There's like one thing where they're like, it's in hospitals. Like Red Alert is like a different. It's code
Blue.
white. Yeah, or something like that. Anyways, regardless, I was misinterpreting
Yes.
it. But yeah,
Yes.
he's definitely on Red Alert.
Yeah, oh my God, yeah. So there's so many red alerts in this show. But yes, Courtney, do enjoy like this series. You are in for a lot of trauma, but also a lot of laughs and a lot of
You're gonna be desensitized, especially since you're binging it.
Whoa, I have not been desensitized by this series. Season 4 broke some new ground for me, and it took me a minute to recover from that.
Oh yeah, every season will break new ground. It's just you're gonna be desensitized in a way where when you watch other things, people are like, "Oh my God, I've never seen like this." You're like,
yeah, that face is absolutely true.
He's like, yeah, I definitely know you haven't seen The Boys.
It's like, I can't tell if you're young or you just haven't watched The Boys.
Yeah, like Glenn with Negan is still a really hard thing to watch because they sat on it for so long, but it's still kind of PG for The Boys because they would take it to a different level. They'd like make things dangle and send it to you in the mail.
Oh, yeah. Okay. Moving on to our next topic. Now, this is another representation of the Geeky Bros, apparently manifesting destiny. Darcy has now joined our ranks. Tactix had claimed it previously with the Daredevil series, and by some stroke of miracle, Darcy is tapped into that vein and is bringing it forward. So, Darcy, thank you. We have received positive steps forward for the Spawn movie. Now, for those of you who don't know, Todd McFarlane, the creator of Spawn, has been very difficultly trying to create a film to bring to the modern day. And this is meant to illustrate that it has not been going well for quite some time. And Darcy, in our last podcast, even pointed out the fact that this thing, in his mind, was never going to get made. Todd McFarlane watched this episode and was like, I will see you next week, Darcy.
Or it was SDCC.
Yeah. Yeah. I
mean, like 99.9% chance it was that Ness, but I got that 0.01.
Okay, all right, fine. So, what has been released is Todd McFarlane has told us that the script has been finished for a new film. It's called King Spawn, and it currently has a production company who is going to produce it, which is Blumhouse Productions. Now, for those of you who don't know, Blumhouse Productions is very well known for producing horror films.
Mm-hmm.
Like I think Get Out was also one of them. The Invisible Man, definitely.
Yeah. Blumhouse?
Oh, my apologies. It is Blumhouse, not Bloom, because there's no E. Sorry, Blumhouse. So yes, so Get Out. Well, actually, while I'm here, Get Out, Halloween 2018, The Invisible Man, Megan, Five Nights at Freddy's, Sinister, and the entire Insidious franchise, as well as the Paranormal Activities franchise and the Purge franchise. Jesus Christ. Okay, so yeah, they're very well known for their horror movies.
Yeah, they even have
But-
horror video games. You can just imagine.
Oh,
yeah.
okay.
I haven't played them, but yeah.
Yes. So as well, they've actually sent out some very excellent dramas as well, which include Whiplash and Black Klansman. So having read this, well, actually just reading it right now, and also knowing what the content of Spawn is, this is a very good production company for this. Like, so he found himself the right place. Now so this is all it means is that King Spawn's writers, Matt Mixon, Malcolm Spellman, and Scott Silver. Now those individuals, I don't know anything about Matt Mixon, but Malcolm Spellman worked on The Falcon and the Winter Soldier, and Scott Silver worked on the Joker movie.
Okay, that's quality.
So we don't have a shortage of bad. Like there's no bad here at present. Now, granted, there's no director and no cast right now. Like they're trying to shop us around, but the script has been completed. We do know that for the longest time, Todd McFarlane had wanted Jamie Foxx to play Spawn.
Yeah.
I don't know if he's aged out yet.
Yeah, here's the thing. I mean, Jamie Foxx obviously had his physical issues not that long ago, and I don't know. I feel like that steam's gone, and I think as you're developing into what this property is, I feel like they need to go not no name but lesser name, because I do need some pull into this.
Yeah. This is also supposed to be a rated R film. Like McFarlane reinforced that has not changed.
Yeah, he's been very big on that.
Honestly, I don't know the horror landscape very well. Like the only horror director I know, like off the cuff, is Mike Flanagan. I mean, Jordan Peele could also, like, those would be directors that I would be happy to hear have been attached to this. In terms of actors,
thing is, how much do you know the actual content of this?
I know minimal amounts of Spawn. Like, I'm aware that I know like the basic gist of him, but nothing beyond that.
Yeah, because this is the movie, and I don't know a lot. I watched a little bit of the HBO animated show, and when I watched that, it's a whole lot darker than that movie.
Yeah.
Right? Like, he's literally like facing off with people who are like trying to rape people in the very first episode. Like, it's a very dark thing, and he's like destroying them, right?
Yeah.
And so he's meant to be like an anti-hero that's like, you know what? And especially with this picture, I'm going to say this, of this King Spawn. He is more of what Sony's been trying to do with Venom, but his actual story is more like what Venom, what they're trying to do. Because like with Venom, they're trying to make him this anti-hero, but they're trying to be a hero, but without Spider-Man, it's stupid.
Yes.
But he's actually more like the horrificness of Venom, actually enlisting that on bad people, right? And he's haunting people, and he's like destroying people and doing all kinds of stuff. And so it makes sense for this to be more of a horror. And I think that they need an actor, but I don't think they need it to be a massive name because one, I don't want the budget to go to an actor and not to the CGI. Now, I'm not saying that like they need a massive budget for the CGI. We've seen that obviously we can do amazing CGI if we plan it really well and we film and edit our scenes appropriately, then do the CGI and really thoughtful about lighting. And this film should be naturally dark, so there actually should be a really good chance for them to really do a good job with this. But I want them to really focus in on like the elements that should be emphasized and less on a lot of money going to the actor, and that makes him have to sacrifice on other things.
I see what you're saying. I'm just trying to think, like, because you've said it, I'm trying to think of any like actors that I know of that are like in that right age group that could play Spawn. I can't think of any right now.
It's like young to middle-aged father, probably like
Oh my God, Candyman.
I was thinking about him.
Oh my, it's like Yahya Abdul Mateen.
Yeah, he did come to mind uh uh as like one of the main ones.
Because we know he can act.
Yeah. There's if things hadn't kind of turned out the way they would, I would have maybe even put like a Jonathan Majors in here.
I was thinking that at first, but I dismissed him right away. I mean, to be honest, this like
It could be an interesting way to approach it, but
yeah,
like your career, coming back and stuff like that.
exactly. Because this is like you are the protagonist in a way, but at the same time, yeah. It. I think those two would be a good first try. But I'm interested to see how Jonathan Majors' like career is going to survive all of this. But nonetheless, like I'm pleased that this is moving forward. I think now that the script is completed, that Todd McFarlane has signed off, and also they already have a production company on hand, which is known for doing good films, both in horror and drama. And if this is like a horror drama comic book movie with that many writers already on board, all they really need is to find a proper director. Which I mean, given Blumhouse's, they have worked with a lot of directors, so they should have at least like some easy contract stuff already set in motion.
It's going to be what the stickler's going to be is about creative vision. So Todd McFarlane owns 100% of his stuff, and he owns even the comic book studio, whatever technical term.
Image.
Yeah, but I mean, like, I don't know if it's a publisher or a studio or whatever you put that title on. The way he structured it, I watched this video from a long time ago. He structured it so that the people who would make comics under him would take home the majority of the money, and they would basically have to like pay him back up to a certain point for the upfront marketing and costs, and then after a certain point, they continue to make the money. And he's like, well, a lot of people stopped making comic books afterwards because they made more money than they ever made before, and then they could retire off of it. And so before they basically make like a salary, even though they made these comics that were amazing, now they're making all the money and change everything. So he's very big on ownership, and he's very big on like, hey, the last movie didn't hit the mark from the creatively. And so he's gonna be very, very big on hitting that mark creatively. And
I'm okay with that.
And
he knows what he's doing.
Absolutely. And so it's just gonna take longer for him to gel with the right director to hit where they're trying to go. And so that's going to be the big thing, that's like, yeah, they have the talents, but it doesn't mean that those talents are not going to want to do a little bit of what they want to do, right? He's not going to let what Henry Cavill had to deal with. It ain't going to happen, right? He's just not going to get off the ground. So they're not respecting the source material and really love the source material and trying to like make the source material and add things that he can't add, but with keeping it to the source material. It's not going to happen. So I just know it's going to take longer. I mean, he's been working on this film for like 10 years, bro. So
yeah, like there's actually you saying that there's actually a quote that he had. So he shared what Blumhouse had once told him. It said, like, as time goes by, it may have been the most enlightening thing he had said to me. This is McFarlane saying. He said, Todd, a movie gets made when it's ready. But if you try to rush it, and you try to cut corners because you're trying to hit a false, deadline, you're not doing a service to the project. So I think based off what you're saying, and also him having as much control, creative control as he does, he's not going to rush this. How old is Todd McFarlane?
Oh, good question. Todd McFar. That's not McFar.
Oh yeah, he's also the president of Image Comics. You're right. He's 63.
Damn. Oh, I haven't seen like a recent picture, but man, it looks good in the picture I've seen. Yeah, I'm like looking up actors who I kind of want to play this. And I'm like going through like a list of like, really popular actors right now. And I'm
Mhm.
like, one that kind of, one that could be really interesting, but might not, like, it depends on like how you want to do it from an age perspective.
Yeah.
Is Sterling K. Brown could be really interesting.
Oh,
Yeah, that could be really, really interesting. Um, Another one that I think could
that
be
would be
interesting,
fantastic.
but depends on, again, tone, and he might be a little bit young, but if it takes a little bit longer, it could really settle in. Lakeith Stanfield, you remember, you watch Atlanta?
I saw the
Oh,
first season.
Get Out. He's the one that was already captured, and he was
Yes, I do. Oh, he's a bit. Uh,
he
he
has,
would have to bulk up for this.
yes, but it also depends on age, and a lot of the characters are going to be CGI though, like a lot of the time,
I mean,
right?
that's true.
And I'm just looking at like interesting acting range could be really, really interesting there. Yeah, I'm just like looking through other people from like,
Actually, that's true because, like, not that I'm saying this is anything close to a comparison in terms of story, but when they're making the live action Beauty and the Beast, the actor who played the Beast was in like a full blown like outfit that like allowed him to for his facial expressions to be caught into it. So like the actor that you just Lakeith could play the role and still be in like the motion capture stuff, so he doesn't actually bulk up for anything because therefore like, but unless for his human scenes.
hmm. I have one more that's really, really, really interesting.
Hmm.
This could be very interesting, and it could also be the worst idea ever. Ray Fisher. You know what I mean? Like you don't think of it initially, but he's got acting chops. And
That
he's getting closer to 40 in age, right? By the time this gets made, he's like apparently 36 right now. I don't know if that's an updated stat. And
that's actually really perfect.
yeah, that's another one where it's like, again, I wouldn't necessarily think right away, but again, it depends on like the cost to make the film. If they approach this like the creator in terms of like literal production approach, and then they're able to keep this cost appropriate, and it's dark, so they can really like handle the CGI in a way where it's not going to be as hard as like putting CGI in the bright daylight. It's always harder to do that, right? Because you can just hide a lot with shadows. You don't have to finish everything perfectly if you do it with shadows, and it depends on your art style too. So they can really focus in on like, okay, if they keep the cost low, they don't have to make this Deadpool level where it like breaks box office. It just has to be like profitable and really good for a certain audience of fans, so that it makes itself money. So if you really focus the right way with a lot of your production, then you can make this like a 50 million, $75 million movie, and then it can turn out like 300-400 million. So
No, actually, that actually sounds like the smart way to doing it.
yeah, I wouldn't try to make this like it did last time, a box office
No,
film.
no.
It's just not the play for this. It's got a core audience. If it happens to hit big, it happens to hit big, but it doesn't have like Ryan Reynolds goofing off, to like draw people in like Deadpool does. So
Speaking of Deadpool, this is actually a perfect time for us to transition to our final topic. So moving on, we are okay. This is not in any way discussing the film. This is no spoilers whatsoever.
you better not. I haven't seen it yet.
So has a lot of other people. This is just going to be talking about early reactions. So for those of you who were considering watching the Deadpool movie, or were thinking of watching the Deadpool movie, or weren't sure if you want to give it like another try, we're just going to be talking about early reactions from the critics and for the audiences regarding it. And Courtney's like, "Oh, thank God, I was about to dip." Yes, I'm like being very clear. No spoilers. No spoilers. So,
I can't spoil it, Courtney, so you're good on that front. I have seen one trailer months ago and I stopped at that point. I have not watched the second and third trailer.
fair. So, the reviews have come in, and not just the early reviews. We've gotten the full critical consensus, and we have 2,500 audience score. Like we have 2,500 people who've inputted their audience score into Rotten Tomatoes. So, when looking at the cream of the crop, 63% fresh on Rotten Tomatoes for Deadpool and the Wolverine. For general critics, it bumps up from, and this is going for like 280 reviews, it bumps up to an 80% on Rotten Tomatoes. For the audience score, with 2,500 people who having watched it, we're at 98%.
That's what I'm talking about. That's what I'm talking about right there. That's the only thing you allowed to spoil.
Yeah. I love Tactix. Like, who's we? Darcy hasn't seen it. Okay, I meant like the podcast, bro. You know what I meant.
Also, Courtney says, "Sorry, Umar, I discovered the limits of our friendship, and it's at the doorstep of Deadpool spoilers."
That's fair. That's fair. And yes, I will also take a moment to point out that while we are not in any way, or I say, while I am not in no way saying any spoilers, this to all y'all people who have watched it, do not put comments or spoilers in our comments. That's some bullshit. And for all of you people on YouTube and Twitter and Instagram who are just like being malicious as fuck with your spoiler images, stop it.
Yeah, I'm tired of this whole like, hey, I got to be first kind of culture where everyone's rushing to like be the one who releases the information. You know, it's driven me to be like, you know, I'll watch the first trailer, or sometimes I won't even watch any trailer, and I'm like, you know, this is good enough for me to want to go see it. All right, cool. I'm gonna stop paying attention to everything and wait for it to come out, because I just want to enjoy the thing. I don't want to know everything before I watch it, you know?
Yes.
Like,
And,
it's not an exam. I don't need the Coles notes.
and also, like, okay, fine. I can understand on a like perspective of you want to gain the clickbait attention, all that sort of stuff. You can do that without being assholes. Well, you can do it by being less of an asshole. My point is, stop it. But
yeah, like, you know what you could do? You take the spoiler image, you blur most of it out, anything that's important, and you'll never guess blah 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 without explaining it.
Thank you.
Then the people who don't care about being spoiled can click in, and for the rest of us can keep scrolling.
Yes, exactly. So like, and like, oh, anyway, so that's just my tangent on spoilers. None of them happening here, but I will say, no, Darcy, given you've now heard, and also Tactix and Courtney and anyone else who's watching, given that now you've heard that 63% on top critics, 80% over critics overall, and 98% on audience score for the Deadpool and Wolverine movie, how does that make you feel?
How does this picture make you feel?
Turned on.
Exactly my point. So I'm excited. That was really the segue. I'm excited for this film. Why would I not be? I love the first film. I was in for the Deadpool series when Ryan Reynolds leaked the test footage, right? Like, you know, since then, I've been all in and bought and sold. And so, you know, I'm glad that this is, you know, from what I've heard, this is still a Deadpool movie. It hasn't changed under the hands of Marvel, because you know how I've been feeling about Marvel. That people are enjoying it, that there's all kinds of, oh my God, I can't believe that you did this. And that, you know, apparently we're going to get a much more gruesome Wolverine than we got in Logan. At least that's what people were saying. You don't have to confirm it. And I am excited to just see things be unleashed, and that Hugh Jackman's regret can go away in that he once he announced his retirement, and then Deadpool came out and he felt bad because he's like, damn, we should have done a movie together. Also, you know what's amazing about this
Hmm.
is it is one of the best press junkets ever, right?
I was just about to say that.
See the difference here. So let's take a very well-known press junket that happened, which was The Rock and Kevin Hart, and doing
Yes.
either Jumanji or the CIA, whatever.
Central Intelligence one.
Yeah, not an intelligent film, but anyways, and so ironic. But when they did those press junkets together, they were obviously very funny. You know, he's big, he's small, and Kevin Hart makes a lot of fun. But these two have been special.
Yeah.
They I've been sending you DMs of like fun press junket stuff, and I was so glad to see them do the one with, I don't know her name, but is a big beautiful black woman from England, and every interview she does is amazing. But it was one of the few times where usually her interviews are funny because of what she brings to it, and then the celebrities' reactions, but they amped it up and they made it even more fun.
She was laughing her ass off.
Yeah, like she was dying. And then when they did the hot ones, what I sent you not too long ago,
Yeah.
I just wrote the caption was pure chaos. Like it's just nothing but chaos of what happened with them. It's been really fun, and I'm glad that they're having a good time. They obviously are good friends, and it's just exciting to see this kind of come to fruition. So
Yeah.
I'm just looking forward to it, and it's good to say that I'm looking forward to a Marvel film, but I'm more really looking forward to just a good time in the theater that happens to be a superhero film. And
So last week when we were discussing Deadpool 3, you had said you had asked me if I thought that this was going to be a successful film for MCU. Like we weren't talking about the whole promises of this saving the MCU and stuff like that. Like that did come up a little bit, but you were more discussing about the financial aspect of it, and also how it would revitalize Disney's model going forward. So based off that, I was able to find some information thanks to Variety. Variety had actually found out that the budget for the film was about 200 million. And
Okay.
what usually is not reported, but they were able to find it, but they found that it was approximately about $100 million worth of marketing. So that actually falls within what you talk about when you previously used to estimate half the market. Basically, the budget cut it in half usually is how much they spend on marketing for these big budget things.
Yeah.
As a result,
Unless it's the Madam Web movie. I couldn't help it. I just want to see your reaction.
oh good lord, that movie I think broke a lot of people in terms of superhero movies in general. But anyway, so with that, we're looking at about 300 million for this for this entire thing.
Yeah.
Regarding Deadpool and Wolverine.
It'll probably go up. The marketing budget will probably go up a little bit more if the success is good, they'll pump more out. They'll just be up at another 25.
Exactly. So there has been some early estimations on this weekend, of Deadpool and Wolverine's in terms of both basically combined, the global intake for this weekend for Deadpool and Wolverine is looking between 350 to 390 million.
Damn. That's going to be the biggest Deadpool movie opening, right?
I think the only thing I'll say about my experience of going to see the movie last night is the biggest packed audience I've seen for a superhero film in a while.
Damn.
There were a lot of people there, and to the point that I actually had forgotten what it's been like to be in a packed theater. And I was like, yo, people are close to me right now.
True. That's a good point.
Yeah. So I'm interested to see like when we go on Tuesday, what like actually Tuesdays are always like busy just because it's like cheap night. So that's gonna be insane. But like already this thing has like basically earned back all of its money. So I think your question has been answered, Darce.
Yeah, I mean, if it makes all of its money back by the first weekend, and the
And turn a profit.
yeah, and then people are enjoying it, right? As is been predicted by the reviews we have so far. So people are enjoying it, and then people are saying you got to go see it. Then that means like the second weekend is usually okay. For instance, I'm looking at Endgame right now, right? Big
Yeah.
movie, right?
Yeah.
And so its first opening weekend was I think this is a domestic number,
Hmm.
but I think it was 357 million, which is massive, which means like
Wait, hold on. There's no way that's domestic.
Opening, maybe that's just maybe that's just the opening weekend. So if
Oh,
that's the
okay.
case, if that's maybe that is a global number. So let me just double check. I clicked
Yeah,
on
because
it.
like
No, it
because
said no, it's domestic opening. Domestic opening
domestic
was
opening was 350 million.
57 million. Yeah.
Holy shit!
Yeah, and their budget was 356 million. So they made 1 million over their budget without marketing on their opening weekend. But anyways, that's not the point here. The point
Right.
being is like for a movie of a massive opening, they had a 58% reduction between the first weekend and the second weekend. Like, it's like using it as like as a scale, right? So that means that you're gonna, let's say you make 350, then in your second weekend you're gonna come in at about like 150, right? And then break like that second weekend, you're already at profit. That
Yeah.
second weekend, it's just like if you just run that for a few more weeks, right? We just kind of use it as a scale. That by a few more weekends, they're gonna be sitting at like 2, 3. I would bet by the time they're done, they're gonna be 300 to 500 million in profit,
Yeah.
right? Like maybe a little closer to the three side, but yeah, like it's gonna be massively profitable, especially for a rated R film, because that's the
That's
thing.
the thing.
Like, yeah, as much as like their domestic was the size of this, it's like, yeah, but they also had children.
Exactly. 'Cause, like you could
Like,
bring like young teenagers to see this or tweens. Now to answer Courtney's question, she says, were they respectful viewers? I feel like a packed crowd could be a good experience because everyone wants to be there, had a cruddy theater experience post lockdown. I can attest that the Pickering crowd was respectful. I wouldn't say we were all cheering like we did in Endgame and Infinity War, but let's just say that there like people were laughing, people were reacting, and people were clapping.
Courtney also said I could buy so many pizza pops with that money.
I mean, yeah.
I do see your priorities. Yeah. I mean, you also said that we had a hard time getting good seats, or we didn't get great seats
We didn't
for
get
Tuesday.
great seats for Tuesday. Like we got decent seats. Like they're not bad, but like
Which
we
is an
could have.
indication of how fast these are selling, is what I'm more using that as, right?
Yeah. Now, granted, this is again a Tuesday. Those are always hard to get because, like, especially the Tuesday after, because like those who can't like want to afford or don't want to pay like the full prices, what like on opening weekend. Like I paid $30 for these tickets, so like versus like literally half the price for Tuesday.
Yeah, or you're like me and you're like, I have a lot of stuff going on the weekend, so it's just a lot easier to go with the boys on a Tuesday following,
Agreed.
right? And so like, like it's just, yeah. I think there's a lot of people who like, yeah, just try to find that like convenience, right? And it's like, oh, I'm
Mhm.
gonna go Tuesday, at like 3 o'clock opening because people are working, and like it's easier for me because I don't work, kind of at that time. So people just like take advantage of that.
Yeah.
And it's summer, so that also makes it harder because there's a lot of kids who have
Yep.
no schedule.
Yes. Exactly.
So yeah, they're showing up. There's like a herd of teenagers. Oh, we'll see what kind of vibe we have. Yeah, because you're saying, oh yeah, it was a good, it was respectful because it was all the people with money who's showing up at, like the night before at late at night and can drive themselves. They're not teenagers.
Yeah.
So we'll see.
We'll see. But nonetheless, I am happy to hear that you feel excited to see this movie. I was worried that you wouldn't be into
Why?
it.
Well,
I like because like okay, Disney has hurt you.
oh yeah, but but this is Deadpool with Ryan Reynolds.
Okay.
It's on an exception. It would hurt me if we got to this point and the reviewers are coming out saying, "Yeah, this movie was touched by Marvel and Disney, and it hurt it." You know what I'm saying?
I see what you're saying. So let me ask you this: just focusing on the critic score, and let's say that you usually align with critics. Did you feel that this was too low of a score? Because, like, technically speaking, in terms of critics, this is the lowest rated Deadpool movie.
Um, no, because so my anticipation of this film is that there is going to be some level of Marvel happening in this. And I seen in the trailers where it's like it looks a little bit brighter and the studios look a little bit cleaner, right? Than at least in like what we've seen compared to maybe the first Deadpool, which felt a little bit more grounded because they had like less money and they didn't have like Marvel behind it. But it looks like the core of the character, the storytelling, and the ability to add things they couldn't add before that they just made jokes about how they couldn't add them into the property will outweigh those things. So the 20% reduction to me feels appropriate in that that's the part of Marvel that had to be in the film and that like fought its way into the film, and Ryan Reynolds fought to make it not 30%. You know what I mean? Like, so that's kind of what I feel like every Deadpool movie has been probably like, let's say for me, between probably like an 8.7 to like a 9.2. Let's just say like it's in that range, right?
Okay.
And it coming down to an 8 feels like, okay, yeah, Marvel took out 10%, you know, like to insert a bit of Marvelness in there, right? But Ryan Reynolds fought to keep it what it is. And if it's going to be rated R, you might as well just let him run with it. If you're going to make it a PG-13, then you got to make it what you want it to be. And no one's going to go damn see that film because it's going to suck.
Yeah.
Because we're going to be like, how you going to censor the guy with baby legs? How you going to censor this dude? Like, we can't go from baby legs to like not baby legs, you know, level ridiculousness.
Yeah.
Because before The Boys, there was Deadpool. Okay, let me put it that way. In terms of like surprising, to the point that Boys references Deadpool in a lot of stuff. So, you know, we must have it. I also don't spoil nothing, Umar, but I'm also kind of curious to see how much if Deadpool references The Boys. Because I think there's like so much fun interplay there. We'll see if it happens. You don't have to say nothing, but yeah, I just like the respect that can happen there. But overall, yeah, like I'm not massively affected by this number being an 8. And yeah, I'm excited to see it, and you know that's good, especially after you let me down before the podcast to let me know that in our GTA area we suck and we took Twisters out of 4DX so fast I didn't get a chance to see it at 4DX. So
yeah, that hurt me too, especially with all the videos people have been posting about how great the 4DX for Twisters was. Fuck.
Yeah. My favorite one, I was telling you before the podcast. So some guy puts out a meme and it was like, before I watched the Twisters and after I watched Twisters.
Courtney saw that already.
Yeah. Courtney, I'm jealous.
Yes, jealous.
I might just go see it anyways, just in regular this weekend. But anyways, this guy had this like before and after, and it's like a quick clip of him, and he's like before, and he's like with his popcorn, he's super excited, he's like yay, and then the after is him being impaled with like a piece of like sheet metal from like a house through his chest, and he's just like, it's like that was my 4DX experience. It's like it came out of the theater and it hit me, and I was like, claps on the cosplay. I love it. That was great.
That was great. Courtney says more cowboy than I expected. 11 out of 10 for Twisters. I'm gonna go watch it with my partner. Yeah, so like I'm looking forward to watching it. It would have been cool to do it in 4DX, but what can you do?
Yeah.
But yeah, so Darcy, I'm gonna
D-box.
Hopefully, yeah. I'm going to volley it to you for our closing remarks.
Well, this has been another edition of the Geeky Bros Podcast. If you liked what you saw or you don't like what you saw, always go to the comments and let us know about that. Yeah, that's it. I'm just really hungry right now, so I can't think of any other words to say, but I'm just Darcy.
And this is Big Geek Umar. Thank you all for watching. Thank you all for commenting. No spoilers in our comment section for Deadpool 3. And please watch us next week for our final episode of the Geeky Bros Podcast. And we will see you then with lots to talk about because SDCC will be done by that point and we will have things to talk about. And also, we will be talking full spoilers on Deadpool, so watch it before then.
So basically 30 minutes of our agenda will just be Deadpool.
Pretty much. So live long and prosper, y'all, and we'll see you next week. Have a good weekend.